Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blake Hawthorne. I'm the clerk of the Supreme Court of Texas. I'm joined by Casey Kennedy, who's the head of IT for the Office of Court Administration, and Kelly Thibodeau, who's also with the Office of Court Administration. Casey and Kelly are going to be helping us run this smoothly, as they have for almost a year now. All the invitations, Zoom invitations, are going to come from Casey Kennedy. We do that to try to keep things simple so you know who to look to for the invitation and what name to search in your Outlook or other email program that you're using to make sure that you can find the Zoom invitation. Casey is also your contact for technology issues. He is a tech whiz, and I'm sure that any tech problem you're having, Casey can help you sort it out. If you have any questions about procedures, of course, for the argument, you can contact me. You should have already emailed your cell phone number to me. If you haven't, please send it to me today. On the day of the oral argument, I will send a group text message for each oral argument. You can respond to the text message if you're having technical difficulties or if you need to contact us urgently. We also want you to be aware that the Zoom invitations include a telephone number you can use to call into the Zoom meeting. So if you lose your Zoom connection, you can continue via telephone by calling into the meeting from any telephone. So again, that telephone number is included in the Zoom invitation. We did have someone, not to scare you all, but we did have someone lose power to their building right before the oral argument. I can imagine that was a pretty scary moment, but he texted us, let us know that he'd lost power, and we got him on the phone, and he was able to continue arguing from his iPhone. He did a great job, really. And I think the judges did a good job of adjusting to that form of argument by making it clear who was talking. That is all just to tell you what plan B is and to reassure you that there is a plan B in case things go wrong. That's what we will do. So again, if you'll send us the cell phone number, if you haven't already, that would be a big help. Oral arguments. So as I said, actually, Casey will send you the Zoom invitation for the oral argument. He will resend that invitation to you the morning of the oral argument. That way it's easy for you to find it and you don't have to worry about where that Zoom invitation is. Do not share the Zoom invitation, please, unless you need to with technical staff. The Zoom invitation is only for attorneys that are arguing the case. The oral arguments are streamed live on our YouTube channel. So if someone wants to watch the argument like a client or another counsel on your case, they can watch it on YouTube. And if you would please communicate that to other attorneys in your case and let them know, and clients as well, let them know how they can watch the argument, because we do get a lot of telephone calls and email inquiries from people asking how they can watch the argument. So if you could do that, that'll help us out. Oral arguments begin on the hour, and the cases will be called in the order they are listed on the submission schedule. I believe I included the submission schedules on the email that I sent to you to set up this meeting. The first argument will begin at 9, the second at 10, and the third at 11. We ask that you join the Zoom meeting 10 minutes prior to the beginning of your oral argument. If you plan to use oral argument exhibits, you must e-file them with my office no later than 24 hours prior to your oral argument. They will be distributed to the court via email as soon as they are e-filed, and they will be redistributed on the morning of the argument in one message that's sent to them for that day with all the oral argument exhibits. The reason that we ask you to file them 24 hours in advance is so that those that are printing them out, they may have executive assistants or someone in their office printing things for them and sending it to them, and that allows enough time to make sure that they have a hard copy in case they need it. During the argument, I will introduce you before you speak. It's just like we do in the courtroom. So for example, with the petitioner, I will say, may it please the court, Ms. Smith will present argument for petitioner. Petitioner has reserved 5 minutes for rebuttal. And then I do the same thing for the respondent. So if you would please wait for me to introduce you before you speak, that would be helpful. I will be operating the timer, and I'm going to show you what that will look like. Just give me a second here. Here we go. So we have a few more people in this meeting than we'll have in the oral argument. So it will appear slightly larger than this because we won't have as many boxes, but that gives you an idea of what it looks like. When we're down to 5 minutes, the time turns yellow, as you see here. And see it count down like this. When we get down to 2 minutes, it's going to turn red like that. And if I can demonstrate, I'll let this run for a second and continue talking. When we get down to no time left, then it is going to start flashing at you. It's a little bit obnoxious, so I don't let it flash too long. I'll usually let it flash for about a count of 10. And then I'm going to turn that off, and it's just going to be a blank screen there. If you've gone way over, then you'll probably see me reappear back on the screen. So if you're seeing me, then you are definitely out of time. And of course, it is customary here when your time is up and you're in the middle of the answer, or somebody has just asked you a question to ask for permission to continue, they always say yes, but just FYI, that's how things go here at the Supreme Court. So here you can see it's flashing, and I'm going to let it do that for a little bit, and then it'll just go blank, and then we'll come back to me. When you're not speaking, you will not appear on camera. So we're going to bring everyone in at first, and you'll all be there on the screen when the case starts. And then when it's, so if we start with the petitioner, for example, Casey will turn off the audio and the video for the respondent. And then when it's the respondent's turn to speak, Casey's going to turn your audio and video back on, but you must reach out and touch your computer in order to allow that to happen. So Casey will now demonstrate what that will look like for you. So Casey, go ahead.
May take a couple seconds because there's a lot of us here.
Ignore my emails, Casey. I finally got to the bottom of it.
Awesome.
User error, as always, on my part.
That's fine. Okay, so right now everybody's video is muted and you all are muted. So you should be able to hear me and see Blake and Kelly, and they can speak right now. And so then we'll go ahead and start turning you guys back on. And as we do, that's where you may need to reach out and hit that button to say allow video and allow to unmute. So hold on while we do that.
Muted.
All right, so pound's what?
And yeah, that touch tone thing will go away. The first pound is to enable the beeps, and the second pound is answering the question.
Okay, anybody have any questions about how that works? All good? Okay. At the end of the argument, we will bring everyone back on camera. So the petitioner will have concluded rebuttal. We'll bring the respondent back on the camera. Just want to let you know that there is, you are still live until we tell you you're not. So please remain stoic and don't speak. Don't say things like, well, that didn't go well, or something like that, until we give you the all clear. And you will notice, as you see right now, we are recording this, and there is a little red light up in the upper left-hand corner there. You're going to see something similar to that on the day of the argument. And when that's gone, then we'll tell you, okay, it's all clear and you can relax now. And then we'll say goodbye to you. We sent you a guide to Zoom oral arguments and a link to our YouTube channel. I think the best advice I can give to all of you is to moot your case over Zoom. So if you've got hopefully 9 friends that'll help you out, and maybe someone that will pretend to be the timer for you, that's going to give you the best feel of what this is going to be like arguing over Zoom. Obviously, there are lots of recordings on our YouTube channel that you can watch to see how this goes. I think probably the most frequently asked question is, do I need to stand? And the answer is no, you don't. You're perfectly welcome to sit. Lots of people sit, and the most important thing is that you be comfortable. So it doesn't matter to us whether you sit or stand. The judges don't care. Casey, what are some other questions that we get from folks?
Just to be aware that, like you said, it kind of runs like a TV show, so that at the very beginning, when we bring the judges in, you'll see Kelly and I disappear off the screen, and then you'll hear me ask the chief if we're ready, and then I count us down. And so, you know, and we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then at the end, it takes between, I'd say, 10 and 15 seconds of just staring politely at the camera for us to run through the buffer that YouTube has for us to cut it off.
Mr. Warner, it looks like you have a question. If you want to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, sir. And this may be a question to everybody else. So Mr. Hawthorne seemed to have about a 1-second delay when I was seeing it. Mr. Kennedy seems to be in real time. Is everybody else seeing that, or was that just me?
I don't know, but I'm glad I'm in real time.
I didn't have a delay.
It very well might be your internet connection.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can cause delays based on how you're receiving audio.
And the other thing to be aware of too is that Kelly has the ability to, well, I do too, but usually I let her do it because she's much quicker at the draw than I am, to see the quality of the connection. So if we do notice that you're freezing or something's going on, Kelly has the ability to go in and say, hey, their internet is no good, or this is starting to bobble, and then we can text you on that group chat to let you know that we may be seeing issues.
I will add there that one of the few problems that we've seen are people that are using Wi-Fi instead of using a hardwire connection to their computer. It's okay to use Wi-Fi, but just be aware that your connection to the Wi-Fi, its speed is much more subject to interference and other variations. So if you can hardwire your computer to an internet connection, you're gonna probably have a more stable internet connection and won't have some of those issues. So you might want to think about that.
And then to build on that, I assume everybody who's showing today, you're using the computer and at the location you plan to do argument at, because if you are, then that's good, because we can see everybody and it seems like the connections seem to be pretty good. If you do want to move equipment around, or you say, you know, I'd be more comfortable in my work office or wherever, and if you need to have a quick check, you know, reach out to us and we can schedule, you know, a quick 5-minute meeting to connect to make sure that everything looks okay, if you need that.
For those of you that are using your sort of, I guess what we might call like professional conferencing equipment, I encourage you to have your IT professional there in the room with you to operate that for you. We did have an instance where someone was having technical difficulties and she'd locked the door to make sure they were not interrupted and her IT person couldn't get into the room. So I do strongly encourage you, if you're using that type of equipment, make sure that you've got the person nearby that knows how to fix it in case you need help.
And Blake, it looks like Ms. Klein has a question.
Yeah.
Yes, I am sadly in a post-COVID exposure quarantine, but I hope to be out before next week. So I will need to check my connection at another location. When would be the best time to do that, or how to arrange that?
If you want to, I can reach out to you and then
Okay.
make sure that you've got my availability, and then we'll just pick a time and check it out.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Connolly.
So the notice says 20 minutes per side, and we have a case that involves 4 lawyers, 2 parents, a department, and an ad litem. Are we to allocate the 20 minutes between alignment, or is it 20 minutes per individual? Because we have 2 separate parents, for example.
It is per side. So if you've got petitioners versus respondents, it is typically 20 minutes for the petitioners and 20 minutes for the respondents. And you all just need to sort out how you're going to share your time. And if you can't, then file a motion with the court. I would note, though, that Mr. Kuhn reached out to me about his case. He had a specific question where they have a little bit more complicated situation where they've got lots of cross petitioners, and I did give him a specific allocation and order in his case, but normally that's not how it goes. It's 20 minutes per side, and you just need to sort it out. If you can't, contact me, let me know, and we'll see what we need to do.
That's what I assumed, but I just wanted to verify.
Okay. Mr. Kuhn?
Blake, just to follow up on that, if we have our allocation, do we give that to you like in the 10 minutes before, or do we give it to you now, or when?
I would love to get an email from anyone that is splitting time just as soon as you can, preferably not next week, right before we start, but sometime this week, telling me how you intend to allocate your time. That would be very helpful to me.
Oh, Kurt, don't be banging and don't be piling on next week.
I'm going to take Craig's 20 minutes. That's my plan.
And to echo what Blake say, I'll tell you, it helps us, especially we like the cases where it's 20 minutes aside, or 15 and then 20 minutes and then 5 for rebuttal. And then we like it ahead of time for all the cases where it's like 3 minutes here, 7 minutes here, and all these other ones, so that when we're switching people around, we don't make any mistakes.
But Kelly has been preparing a detailed script for the Chief Justice that tells him all of this information. So if you can get it to us as soon as you can, it's helpful in preparing that and making sure that he has the script, because obviously we're not in the same room. So it just helps us communicate and make sure that we're all on the same page.
Casey, I wanted to let you know that I too am in a quarantine. I hope to get a negative test this afternoon. So I probably will need to touch base with you about a different location.
Okay, I'll email you after this too to set up a time.
Thank you.
Mr. Warner?
Yes, sir. In terms of the allocations, and I know you may not be able to sort of firmly answer this question, but has it ever happened that essentially the court had a different view of the allocation than the parties did? That is to say, my co-counsel and I, or not my co-counsel, the other one on my side thinks it should be 15 for me and 5 for him, but the court actually has a whole lot more interest in his piece of the case and only wants to hear from me for 5 minutes. Is the court going to respect our division, or do we have to be concerned about the court essentially calling an audible?
They're not going to change your time allocation on you on the day that you show up. Is that?
I mean, as between me and my aligned party.
The way it normally works is you walk in the courtroom and you tell me how you're splitting your time, and that's it. If you can't agree, then you can write to me and I'll take it up with the court and get back to you with an answer.
Sure, we agree as between ourselves. I
Sure.
just wanted to,
Yep. No,
I
I
think
mean,
I
they're not going to pop on the screen and say, no, wait a minute, let's change this up. I mean, it's just up to you all. Yeah, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. I have two questions. The first is I prefer to use my phone to connect via Zoom, but I wanted to double check. I think that you had said that we would be connected about 10 minutes before the argument. That I wanted to check that because it takes a few minutes to connect via phone before you are fully connected. And so I just wanted to confirm that there would be that extra buffer before we were live.
Yeah, so we ask you to check in about 10 minutes ahead of time. When you show up, you're going to see what you saw today, which is essentially you're in the right place, but it's going to be a few minutes before we bring you in. But we will give you certainly usually at least 5 minutes or so before the argument that we make sure that you're actually live and on the screen. So.
Great, thank you. And I had one other question. Do you happen to know if the justices will have access to color printers when they print exhibits, or do you not know, in which case we should assume black and white?
I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you it's probably just 2 or 3 of them, frankly, that are printing materials out, and I think the rest of them are looking at them on their screen. So you should just be aware that some of them may have just printed them out in black and white, and others may have them up on the screen, and they just deal with the exhibits in different ways. So,
thank you.
Sure.
Blake, to build on that, I would say I know all the executive assistants have easy access to black and white printers. I think they have access to color printers, but it's further away than the one that's sitting right next to me. So,
thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Ms. Hollingsworth.
Thanks. I just wanted to check my audio because I can't hear it, so I thought I would ask if it's coming across okay.
Very good.
Yes, we hear you. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, my experience with this is the biggest issue is sound feedback. And I'm in a building where I don't even know who controls the air conditioning, but when it comes on, it's fairly loud. So has anyone noticed during this that there's any, strange background, audio feed interruption, or has it sounded okay?
It's been okay. We've had a lot of people tell us, we've got construction going on outside, but we've typically not picked up on that, and it's not been a problem. So I think you're probably going to be okay. I mean, like I said, we had someone that said I literally have jackhammering going on in the street outside, and we didn't pick up on it. So
thank you.
One thing we will rename you once you get into the meeting. But if you can, go ahead and make sure that you've got your name set in Zoom. You can find instructions on how to do that online, or if not, I'm sure Casey could help you figure that out. But it is helpful to us if we know who it is that's actually showing up into the meeting. But of course, part of the reason we have you show up early is to make sure that we've only got the people that are supposed to be there in the meeting. So,
and for it looks like we've got 2 people that are on Zoom room equipment that may not be able to change your name. I see you here today, and so when you come into the meeting, we'll know that it's you, and again, we'll be able to change your name on the back end of things as well.
All right, well, if there aren't any other questions, I will just wish you all good luck, break a leg. You've got my cell phone number, you've got Casey's cell phone number. If there is anything that we can do to help, don't hesitate to contact us, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys.
Very well done.
Thanks.